stand up. Welcome to Open Secret, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm Maryanne Comaroto, and I'm a relationship expert and a human being and a spiritual partner, most important. But before all of that gets explored, I'd love for everybody to just put your feet on the ground. Take an audible breath. Just check in with yourself, with your body. Everybody here knows how to be present. Right. Just take a moment and check in. Let yourself get all the way here. You don't want to miss anything. Breathing is one of the things I'm most grateful for, having recently watched a few people that I love. Oh, that sounds good. Can you hear that? Can everybody hear me in the back?
A little louder.
A little louder. Too loud? I don't even need a mic, really. I'm kind of loud. I was saying that breath is one of those things that I've become pretty grateful for, particularly grateful for over the last couple of years, having watched some people that I love deeply pass on to wherever one goes after they leave their body. And I try to include it in my daily practice, just being grateful that I can breathe. Does anybody else do that? Wow, we get to breathe, right? I watched my girlfriend doubled over, gurgling, one of her lungs having collapsed, and she was sitting in gratitude, living her practice. Not for one moment thinking, wow, why me? Not in that moment that I was with her, and a lot of the moments that I was with her. So I like to just bring that up before I even tell you who I am. I just think there are more relevant things about what I'm doing here than kind of what my title is and what I do. And breath is definitely one of them. I'm going to introduce Gary Zukav and Linda Francis in just a minute because you're all here to talk about their new book, Spiritual Partnership. But there's a couple of things that I'd like to say before I introduce them, aside from breathing in and out and why that's important to me. One of the reasons I'm here interviewing them is because once upon a time when I was 20-something years old, I trolled into Open Secret bookstore and pretty much never left for, I mean, he did send me home to...
No, your cot's back there.
The truth of the matter is that I cried so many tears in that temple, hanging onto Kali's tongue and Buddha's leg and curled up in a ball, wishing I was somebody else, wishing that I had somebody else's life, wishing someone would love me or understand me, wishing I knew how to break the barrier that felt, I don't know, maybe a chasm between me and God. You know, all of those things I experienced here with Rob and Porter and the many people that have created this community, and I'm pretty sure that's why, one of the reasons that you created it, for people like me who are lost, trying to find something or someone outside ourselves to make everything okay. And then I'll fast forward, because I can, to many, many years later. I had a marriage ceremony here, and I finally did fall in love, and it was with me, right? Most people are nodding. You're from California, and you go, yeah, right? I get that. Well, it's one thing to know it in our minds, and it's another thing to have it be for real. And I think that's one of the things that our guests, our esteemed guests, are going to be talking with us about tonight. Taking the story, the stories, the ideas, the spiritual concepts that we have about what it is to be spiritual, to be in partnership, to be awake even, and really turning it into real life. How I be in the world is in love with myself. How I move in and out of every moment authentically, without the blah, blah, blah. We're saying one thing, but my body's feeling something entirely different. Anybody relate to that? Wow, you go to yoga class and you just like flip that guy off in the parking lot. What's up with that? Right? We talk about these things. Gary and Linda have some answers for us. This book is no less than extraordinary. And just to finish the story of the Maryanne got married, my ceremony was no less than extraordinary. And to have someone write a book that speaks of the spiritual partnership that would await me, which, by the way, was the icing on the cake of my day, which was so different than what I thought growing up. I thought you meet someone, fall in love, and live happily ever after. And then I met myself and wanted a divorce 2 weeks later. It was not how I imagined it, right? The dance you do with yourself. And so my point is that that's my husband, my beloved, my partner. And we're going on a decade of being in a relationship. And for anybody who knows me can attest to the fact that that is an absolute miracle. For real. So, that said, and that's, again, another story. We'll drop down that rabbit hole another time. But tonight, what I want to do is bring to you my 25 years experience of having almost never ever worked in any other industry but the personal development industry. By the way, starting out working as a chemical dependency counselor at 18 years old. And virtually never looking back, I became most interested in relationship dynamics because I saw that it caused us so much suffering, so much pain, really seeking to find other and to make that work, right? Can anybody relate to that? Thinking that, God, if this person were just, if that person and that person were one person, I'd be happy, right? Or if that person were less of whatever, I'd be happy. All those stories. Well, so I set out to try to help heal the planet one broken heart at a time, and I've been working pretty hard doing that. And along my way, I get to interview some amazing people like Gary and Linda. And tonight I'm going to do my best to help sort through some of the conundrums that we face today in this quickening, this awakening, this culture, with regard particularly to their work, spiritual partnership. Okay? We're going to dialogue back and forth. I think that we are going to take questions, yes, after we kind of go through and sort through some of what we want to talk about tonight. During. We're going to do it during. So if you feel inspired at any time, just keep your hand up. We'll finish a thought and we'll get to you. And I think we want to use the mic for folks.
It's too much feedback.
Too much
so
feedback.
They can just yell their question.
This is an organic interview. We're just going to stand up or sit down just as long as you project your questions so we can hear you. Does that sound okay for everybody? Okay, so transitioning, we're going to talk a little bit about Gary and Linda. How many people know Gary Zukav? The one person who doesn't. I see you. Welcome. Yeah, Gary's reputation precedes him. How about Linda Francis, his beloved of 17 years? Also a heavyweight on the spiritual path of devotion and partnership. Well, the both of them are here tonight. They have very interesting backgrounds, some of which I'm going to ask them about. So I don't want to stand up here and tell you too much, except to say that these are folks who, as far as most of us can tell, are so devoted to bringing you this work. I pretty much think you said it this morning to me, Linda, on my radio show, that it's a full-time occupation, staying awake. Yourself, right? Is that what you said to me?
Not quite like that, but yes.
Okay, that's my interpretation. And we're going to talk some about that and how you can be someone with a message. And in today's culture, we demand from the people that are teachers in a kind of way to live what they teach. Would you agree? That seems to be something we want more and more of. And in my experience, these folks are not only talking about it, they're living it in their lives. And without further ado, I'd like to invite Gary Zukav and Linda Francis up on the stage with me so we can get started with our interview.
Can you all see us easily?
Yes.
No? Is there anyone who can't see us easily? Because we can get higher chairs.
We can levitate.
They're right here.
Higher chairs? You like these?
These are higher.
These are a little higher. Better.